So the people who face that fear, can lean into that fear, have now undone the lid of the actual raw material that's inside you. Because like you've heard it said 1,000 times, right? Like God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called.
Yeah.
God does not need you to have the prerequisite raw material to build the thing he wants you to build.
Yeah.
He just needs your hands to get to work. Hello and welcome to No Walls. We are excited you're here. I'm excited I'm here. Are you excited you're here?
I'm so excited.
He's excited he's here. We want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening, watching. Here's what we would love for you to do, though. Subscribe, share, like, follow. Social media, Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, however you got to this conversation today. Our hope would be that not only did you enjoy it, but that you would want to share it. Mm-hmm. So do that for us if you haven't already. I'm excited for today. There's a conversation we were kind of thinking about, like what we were going to talk about today. It was sparked yesterday. So on Wednesdays at 3:30, the church kind of has an open door communication run through policy. Yeah. So like I'm really passionate personally about helping people become phenomenal communicators, not just preachers. Yes, that also, but just in general. Like I really want to see people sharpen and develop the ability to communicate an idea. Yeah. Whether that's in a boardroom, whether that's on a church stage, whether that's at home with your kids, praying with them at night, like I want to see people become proficient in the ability to take the ideas that God's given them and communicate them in a way that people are inspired and moved to want to activate on those, right? Yeah. So we just like it. I'm a big fan. So every Wednesday at 3:30, it goes down. So we had yesterday was kind of this cool moment where we had three separate people running stage run-throughs, right? Mm-hmm. They're on stage working out some communication. And they had all started at kind of a different spot. It was really interesting seeing the progression. Some of them have been doing it for months. Others have only been doing it for a few weeks. And someone did it for the first time yesterday. And so you had this like really large amount of time difference. And so we're listening to it, watching it happen is incredible. But what was fascinating is to see really the margin of development. Mm-hmm. Over the months, over the weeks, over the days, people workshopping, and it really started me to getting to think about the idea of talent. Someone was like, I'm just so shocked at how good everyone is. Like, they're like, we're so talented. It's like, we weren't always. Yeah. It wasn't always like this, but I do think sometimes what we'll do is whether it is like a great restaurant we go to and we look at a phenomenal meal that someone made, it's like, that's the best steak I've ever had in my life. Well, that dude didn't wake up, one day able to make the best steak in the world. And I think sometimes what happens is we walk into experiences or places or rooms that people are at and great things are happening. We kind of like immediately dip on whether or not we believe that we could be a part of a thing, because where we are and where they are feels like the size of the Grand Canyon. And so today I really want to have a conversation on what does that look like? Like what is that process? Like how big a deal is raw talent? Yeah. How big a deal is work ethic, and how do they play with each other in the attempt to become all that we are? So I'll ask you a question. We can just kind of go back and forth throughout the whole podcast. So my first question is, is there anything in your life right now that you would say that you're proficient at or very good at that months or years ago, if you could look at yourself now, you would be like, there's no way. If so, what is that thing, and how did you get to where you are?
I would say this is one that like I don't think I'm like excellent at. To be clear, I'm not world class. But like just leadership in general, like getting to lead people. Yeah, there was not a like if you would have saw me in elementary, middle school, high school. Like, if we were in a group of people, I'm not the person that people look to ask questions for. Like anytime I was with, like, my group of friends, it's like I was not the dude that anyone asked any questions. I was not the dude that people looked to for advice. I was not the dude who would, like, guide anything or anyone in, like, any room that I was in. I would walk into rooms and just pretty much just go with the flow in whatever room I was in, and just, like, whatever guy wanted to lead the room, like, or girl, or like whoever, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would just go with like whatever was happening in the room. And so I think if you told me like just like my senior year of high school, that I would get the privilege and the honor to lead the creative team and also to get to lead the student ministry that we're leading. I think like I would just be blown away. Like it wouldn't make any sense to me. I think the first question I would ask is like, oh, okay, so is everyone you're leading like 13? You know, like how, like, I don't know, like there's like full grown adults in there. You know what I mean? Like that would be like, I remember that being such a trip when I first got to start leading the tech team. Was like there was like someone on the tech team that was like 30 years old and I was like 19, and it was like you're gonna have to learn how to lead this person. It was like, oh snap, like I'm a kid. And yeah, I think that would be the biggest thing from high school, at least, which would have been a few years ago. I would be like, no way you're getting to like actually lead people. Would you have one off the top of your head?
Oh, I mean, it's so many things. Like I feel like my present reality just doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like literally like thousands. Like I mean, preaching is absurd.
Yeah.
Being a dad is absurd. Being a husband is absurd.
Yeah.
Being even semi-healthy is absurd.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I think there's a long list of things today for myself that if you'd have found me a decade ago, would have been just didn't feel real.
Yeah.
Some of them would have been like pipe dreams that you just maybe nah, bro. Like this is a wild reality to live inside of.
Yeah. Well, how did you get from? Since you have so many of those things, how do you get from not even feeling proficient at something to like having the courage to take a step into something like that?
It's a great question. I think one of the things that I think you have to realize, and it's easier for people like myself, right? Like when you aren't good at very many things, or like you just come from a really messy background, right? Maybe you feel like you've messed it all up already, or you made enough mistakes in your life. Like some of us don't have quite so good a like ground to plant in. And so there are some things that like aren't distractions for me that would be for someone like yourself who grew up with two parents that loved each other and loved you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so like some of mine was out of kind of like necessity. It's like there's not a whole lot of good. So like you either just accept life as it is, or you decide you're done with it and you move forward. And so I think that's still true, even if it isn't as easy. Like it's hard in the sense that you're also having to work through all of the things that hurt you and all the trauma and all the pain. It's easy in the sense that you know it's not good.
Yeah.
So I need something different.
Right.
But the step still is the same. Like even for the person whose present circumstances might not be bad, how do you get the courage to step into what's next? Is do you believe there's something better for you?
Yeah.
It really does start it there. Like courage needs the belief that there is a chance you could win. It's stupid. It's not courageous to go fight an army with one person. That's objectively dumb. You're a dumb person. Don't do that. Please never sign up for that. That's not courageous. That's ignorance. It's absurdity. Courage takes something where it's like there's a really good chance I fail.
Yeah.
But I have reason to believe I won't.
Yeah.
I have reason to believe it could be better. And so for me, the way I got there is at some point I just got dissatisfied with what my life presently looked like, and I needed something different. I needed something more. And so even if I wasn't proficient, and even if I wasn't even at a great starting point, even if everyone else was starting at 0 and I was starting at like negative 25, I wanted to get to 20, negative 20. I wanted to get to negative 5, and then I wanted to get to 0 baseline. And I think for me, one of the major motivators into being able to step into things that I wasn't sure I'd be good at was I just wanted to try something.
Yeah.
And I think there really is something to that. As simple as that is, it's important. Like, here's what I have found. I'll say this. Here's what I found in my life. I am like one of the worst gauges to what I will or won't be able to handle, or what I will or won't be able to do, or what I will or won't be good at. And that's not true for me. It's true for everybody.
Yeah.
Because most people suck at reading themselves. And so we either see ourselves in the most optimistic light possible or the worst light possible. Almost nobody is smack dab in the middle.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned about myself is I will almost consistently assess myself like, there's no chance I'll ever be good at that. I can never do that. And I think there's really only one way to find out that you are good at something. And so I think what I would say to somebody, specifically maybe like me, where it's like, you feel like you're so far from the thing that you want to be, and you're like, well, I'm not proficient. Are you sure you're not?
Yeah.
Even if like you aren't good at a thing now, until you've tested something, you can't really know.
Yeah.
Like you can tell me 2 + 2 is 4, but until I grab them 4 little plastic squares they give you in pre-K and I do the math for myself, I won't know that 2 + 2 = 4. I'll think it does, and I've heard that it does, but until I actually get my hands on 4 squares and do the math, I won't know 2 + 2 = 4. And what I would say to anybody who's like trying to figure out how they become proficient at anything, or they have a dream that they want to do, or something they want to step into, or whatever, you can't know until you know.
Yeah.
And so don't let not knowing or fear what could or couldn't happen stop you from finding out. Most things, if you'll just do a simple what's the worst thing that could happen, you'll find out it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So just take the step.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I think there's also something, I heard someone recently, I forgot who I was talking to. Anyways, we were talking about something, and I was like, I mean, like I want to do this thing, but like I'm not for sure, you know, if it was like kind of that conversation. Like I'm not for sure if I'm good at it, or like if it's really something like a talent that I can develop, or gift I can develop, or whatever. And like they were like, yeah, but the fact that the desire is in your heart is probably speaking to something.
That's good.
And like you have to navigate, like, do I want to do this because there's like there could be a million motivations, but if you can sit down with yourself, sift through your motivations, and realize like it's not. If it really seems like you just long for something for the sake of like the thing, there is probably something in that.
Yeah.
But what happens whenever you are longing for something that you're just not naturally good at, and how does that play out? Because I think sometimes people use that as like the barometer for then I must have just been longing for the wrong thing.
That's a great question. So I think being a natural is the biggest load of crap ever. I think it has short-circuited so many potential great leaders and people throughout history because it's just bull crap. I don't care how much of a natural you are at a thing, it has a cap too.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who weren't very good at things when they started and became amazing at them.
Yeah.
I mean, like the first few that come to mind are like Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild.
I mean, turned out to be pretty good basketball, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he's all right.
But he didn't start off very good.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, it's absurd to be like, well, he should have quit then because it was hard or because it didn't work the first time. Or shoot, like, things like, excuse me. I think it was like Thomas Edison who had like 1,000 failed experiences or experiments before he got to the light bulb.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I just found 1,000 ways not to build a light bulb.
Right, yeah.
It's that kind of headspace that really unravels how good at a thing you actually are. And what I found is we really over-celebrate naturals. We look at people who are great at things, they're like, they're so good. They're such a natural. It's like, are they?
Yeah.
How many naturals, first off, how many naturals actually are there?
Right.
Is its own thing, because I would like to pop a bubble in real quick, because I would argue there's not very many.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's bullcrap. Like, oh, they're a natural. Are they? Or did you see them after they had some time?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're so good. Are they?
Yeah.
Or did they, like, stumble before you ever saw them? You know, like, I don't know that anyone's actually that big a natural. But let's just say, for argument's sake, because you are exceptionally gifted at something. Like, you just woke up, man, and you had it. If you don't work on it, you'll never be better than you are.
Right.
And that's the great difference. So for anyone who's, like, trying to do a thing, it's like, oh, I just don't know if I'm that good at it. Well, first off, like, how long have you been running the play? Because at some point, you have to have enough time doing a thing to find out if it doesn't even work. All right? So it's like we've done a lot of things over the years inside of the church that did not work initially. But if we would have bailed on them, we wouldn't have found out because they were going to work beautifully.
Yeah.
Correct. Tribes being one of them. We have small groups. It's a big deal. It's one of the biggest reasons why our youth ministries exploded. We weren't good at those.
Yeah.
Those were a bad time out the gate. But we found a lot of different ways to grow and adapt them so that they are the beautiful thing that they are today. And even now, we're still growing and changing inside them. So I don't actually care where you fall on the tier of naturalism. Probably one of my favorite stories in the Bible is the parable of the talents, where it's like someone got the 1, they got the 5, they got the 10.
Yeah.
And the 10 invested theirs, came back with 10 more. The 5 invested theirs, came back with 5 more. And the 1 didn't do nothing, sat on it because he was afraid he was going to lose.
Yeah.
Wound up getting kicked out of the whole kingdom.
Yeah.
Like, I have a deep held belief that really the only cap in your life is the degree that you are willing to surrender what God's calling you to do and the level of work you're willing to put in.
Yeah. That's good.
And if you'll combine those two things, it's game over. There really is no ceiling. So I have a belief that, like, I think your plan is unfolding. I believe God orders the steps of the righteous. I think God has a beautiful plan for absolutely everyone. But I do think there's like a global plan. There's this thing that God is wanting to do in the world. He wants to redeem the world, set it right, bring it back. And there are those of us who it doesn't actually matter how much raw gift you were born with. If you are willing to surrender to his plan and willing to grind and put the work in to develop the gifts that you do have, what you will find out is there's more waiting for you.
Yeah.
God does not leave hungry lions unfed. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're hungry, he's going to make sure there's some food there. And what I have found in my life is that I am pretty much objectively not that talented. Like, we had our interns in Wednesday night doing our intern meeting, and I'm writing on the board. And it's got all of these, like the different areas in our youth ministry that you could serve in. And I'm just getting roasted like by everybody. Like, every single one of the interns are just blasting me for how bad I am at spelling, how terrible my handwriting is. And like, I'm like, you're not wrong, but like, also this is your student pastor, so take it up with Jesus. Like, I don't know what to tell you. God gave me you. God gave you to me.
Yeah.
Like, me to you. And like, I'm looking at the board, but what that moment is it's proof that, like, he can use anyone. Like, God didn't need me to be the best speller. He didn't need the best handwriter. It's like, well, that's a small thing. Yeah, but there are big things that are like that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you don't pick a kid from the amount of trauma that I come from to be a student pastor. You don't pick a kid who's got Tourette's to speak on a stage. You don't pick a kid who's got anger problems and try to have him counsel people through difficulties in marriages and life. However, God did.
Yeah.
And the reason God did is because time and time again, where I fell short, I leaned into who he was.
For sure.
And I'm not perfect. I'm growing every day. I'm endeavoring to get better at all of those things. But the cap on my life is not God's desire to move through me. The cap on my life is my desire and willingness to surrender to what he's called me to do next, and my desire to put the work in so that I can work the gift he's given me.
Yeah.
And if you will combine those two, surrender to who he is and the plan he has for you, and then not be scared to work.
Yeah.
Not be scared to put effort in. Not be scared to get feedback. You know how scary it is to stand on a stage and have people tell you, like, okay, your sermon was good, but like, maybe don't say this.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the most nerve-wracking thing in the world. It's
Yeah.
still scary. I've been doing it for 9 years now, and it is still legitimately one of the worst parts of my week.
Yeah.
Is getting up here, doing a sermon run through, and having people tell me, like, it could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I want to be better.
Yeah.
And so, as difficult as it is to realize there's still work to be done, I'm not going to let that stop me from putting the work in. Why? Well, because I'm further today than I could have ever imagined at 16, and
Yeah.
I'm 30 now. What's my 60s going to look like?
Yeah.
That's what I'm chasing. So if you're in here and it's like, well, I'm just not natural, like, I don't really care if you're not natural. If you believe God called you to do it, trust that he called you, and then put the work in.
Yeah.
Don't bail because it's hard. Don't make excuses. Don't whine. Don't complain. Just get to work.
Yeah.
Because if you'll work it, if you'll grind it, if you'll put effort in, what you're going to find out is all the grace needed to do the thing he told you do is going to fill your sails.
Yeah.
And before long, you're going to look back and realize you're so much further than you thought you could be.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also like back to like the parable of the talents, like God wasn't cool if you do think you're naturally talented. If you have something that you feel like is your thing, God isn't cool with you keeping it where it's at either.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, you are supposed to develop that thing. And like, especially if you're using it like for people. And so
You should be.
Which you should be. Yeah, you definitely should be. But also what's wild is whenever you do get to, like, for me personally, I've had like anxiety pretty much from as early as I can remember, just about random stuff. Like, growing up, like, we would go to school and there would be like this turn, and as soon as we'd hit the turn, bro, like, it was like I would just start freaking out. Like, my stomach would hurt. I'm gonna throw up. I had no idea what it was. I just thought I was sick. And I tell my mom I'm sick, and then we would turn around and leave school, and all of a sudden I felt better. And then I was like always like wrestling with like, did I just lie to my mom? Like what? You know what I mean? Like that was like always like the thing. Turns out I just had anxiety at a really really young age. And then like it played out in all kinds of ways. I passed out at the eye doctor recently. We won't get into it.
Yeah, we will. Tell us that story.
So yeah. So I was at the eye doctor. I got something in my eye, like at like 8 p.m. one night, and so I'm scrolling my phone, and all of a sudden like something just hits my eye, and I'm like, oh, it'll come out. I kind of like rub my eye or whatever, and it's doesn't come out. And so like I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, this is awful. So I spend probably 2.5 hours that night just trying to get this thing out of my eye. I'm looking in the mirror, can't see it. Fallon's looking at it. My wife, she can't see anything in my eye. And we hit up Caitlin Sisson, who's amazing. She's one of our friends, and she's like, hey, like I really do think you need to go to what is a cuss word for me, the doctor, and which I'm getting better at, but because I actually went. And
yeah,
so,
you did. I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I thought it would turn out great. It didn't. But anyway, so like so she hits me up with, in my professional opinion, she didn't say that, but like it's what it felt like. You need to go to the eye doctor if it's still hurting in the morning.
Caitlin works at an eye doctor.
Yes, yeah. And so she goes, or so I go to sleep that night. I wake up just hoping that my eye will be fine. It wasn't. So we go to the eye doctor, and like I'm actually doing better than I thought that I would. So I'm so nervous on the way over there. Like my stomach's messed up. And like I can't explain like how this works. Rationally, I know everything's okay. Like if you could hear my thoughts, you would be like, oh, this dude's not nervous about anything. It's like my body is not in sync with my brain. Like I just like I have all these like it's like I'm sick. It's like I'm instantly sick. Like I'm trying not to throw up. I'm just nervous. And
it's a beautiful explanation of anxiety.
We get there, man, and it is like that's what's wild. Is it really isn't as much in my head as it is my body. And so we get there, and I'm nervous. I'm walking in, like Fallon's trying to talk to me, and I'm just like I can't really talk.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah, I'm just like we're about to go into war.
For the doctor.
So, yeah. And so get in there. They put some eye drops in my eye. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. They even like put this blue stuff in your eye, this dye. And the way that they do that is they have dye on a piece of paper, and they just poke your eye with the paper, which sounds awful. It's not great, but like I survived that, and I was like, dang, I'm killing it, bro. I am. And like the anxiety's kind of like leaving my body from what I can tell, bro. I'm feeling great. And then the dude's like, I think I'm gonna have to flip your eyelid and see if it's behind your eyelid. And I'm just kind of squeamish with some random things. It doesn't seem to be consistent either. And I was like, okay, you know what? I can survive this. Dude takes the Q-tip, flips my eyelid, looks in it, and he says, like, I think that, it's like further up. And I was like, oh, okay, what does that mean? And he said, I just need to get another tool. He gets this metal tool. And, like, it's a scary looking tool. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It just is. It's metal. It has, like, a hook-looking thing on it. And he says, this tool is scarier than it looks. This is going to feel exactly like it did before. And so he goes and he rolls my eyelid, and he like can roll it further up. And so then I have like two images flash in my head. One is if this man leans back and falls, my eyelid's gonna rip in half. And the other one was I could feel like a slight bit of tension on like the corner of my eyelid. Even if he doesn't fall back, what if my eyelid rips in half? And that was like the two images that fell in my head. And then I'm like walking myself back, like, no, I'm good. My thoughts are fine, but the anxiety's kind of in my body. Well, then I think it was my fault. I think I moved, but he dropped the tool, and like, bro, it was instant. Like, just I was gone. Like, like every rational thought that I had, actually, I would say my thoughts are still rational. My body was just like, oh no, we can't do this. This is fight or flight mode for sure. And so like he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and he goes to pick up the tool, and I was just like, hey man, like, I'm sorry, but I'm getting kind of nauseous. Like, can you hand me that trash can over there? And he was like, what happened? Did something trigger? And I was like, I'm about to throw up. Can you just hand me the trash can? He hands me the trash can, and I'm holding the trash can, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I know this is weird. I think I'm going to pass out. And he's like, oh, no. Like, I was like, I'm fine. I'm probably going to pass out. And, like, I didn't say this, but it really is, like, I'll see y'all in a little bit. Like, I'm fine. I'll just see y'all in a minute. And then, according to Fallon, my wife, I'm just, like holding the trash can. I'm like about to throw, or I look like I'm about to throw up, and all of a sudden I'm just out. And then I wake up a few seconds later. I don't even think it was like a whole minute, and I'm waking up to the sound of my own voice telling the eye doctor I'm fine, which is always a trip. I hate the way that feels. So yeah, I passed out at the eye doctor. So then I had to like.
I'm so sad I missed that.
Bro, what's wild is...
The next time you go to the doctor, I'm requiring you to please, Jesus, give me a just passenger seat.
I will for sure. That's the only time I've ever passed out at the doctor before. So that is the only time that's ever happened. I did throw up at the dentist. That was a bad time. That was nerves. And then I've just thrown up a lot of times because I'm nervous. And I passed out like a couple other times because of random stuff because I was nervous. So essentially all that to say, anxiety has played a role in my life.
Yes.
And there have been like so many moments, like specifically like on the stage, like I'm going up to do a 180 for the first time, or I'm going up to preach for the first time, or just random. Not just the stage, but specifically the stage is kind of the easiest one to like pinpoint it to. It's like whenever you do something that you don't feel equipped to do, but you feel called to do, you get to see God's grace land on you in like a different way.
That's so good.
And like it is the wildest thing. And that's why like every time I get a chance to, like I implore people, like, oh, if you're nervous to do the thing, but you feel like God's calling you to do it, like do it. And like don't just do it so you can do the thing, but do it so that you can see God work in a way that's going to instill confidence in your life, instill confidence in your walk, in a way that like nothing else will. And that's what I've gotten to see. That's what anytime something is uncomfortable, anytime there's a moment where I feel unequipped but I feel called, I get to see God move in a different way. And so now like I'm actually kind of excited about those moments, and I'm still nervous for those moments. But like whenever those moments come, like I know, like okay, this is just another moment to see God move in a different way. And so
I think that's your superpower. I've told you that before, and I mean that. Because like when you are afraid of something, you've done something internally that has triggered your response to be lean in.
Yeah.
And so many other people lean out, and I think it is that leaning in that has set so many really dope things that have happened in your life. And that's not just true for you, that's true for really anybody. Like I've seen it happen so long. I mean, one of the great privileges of being in ministry since I was 19, and I'm 30 now, is like I've got to do this a few times.
Yeah.
I've got to walk with some people. I've got to do life with people. And I've just seen it happen too many times. It's not just my story. It's not just your story. It's everyone's story. Like every person decides that they are going to unapologetically chase the individual call of God for their life, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get there. They leave satisfied.
Yeah.
Because God does have good plans, and He does have a plan. And if you'll take the steps towards that plan, you'll have everything you need to do it. It's just deciding to actually do the work. And it's scary because for a lot of us, no one set that path.
Yeah.
For a large number of humanity, you don't have like a mom or a dad or a friend or a mentor who modeled for you that failure was okay if it meant getting to the end of the story that God has for you.
For sure.
So the people who face that fear, to lean into that fear, have now undone the lid of the actual raw material that's inside you. Because like you've heard it said 1,000 times, right? Like God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called.
Yeah.
God does not need you to have the prerequisite raw material to build the thing He wants you to build.
Yeah. He
just needs your hands to get to work. Because if you'll get to work, you'll find out He probably had the material the whole time, and if He didn't, He gave it to you.
Yeah.
A really good example of that is like our friend Tyler. You know, he's our energy pastor on Wednesday nights, and he was one of the guys at the run-through Wednesday. And Tyler's a lot like me. He's got some issues with like some natural kind of impediments, and when it comes to speaking. So I've got Tourette's, and he kind of like he slurs his words. Like he has a really hard time like enunciating. So when he speaks, it's almost like his mind just gives up on the sentence. Because he feels like God's called him to become a better communicator, which is kind of a wild thing. Yeah. Because it's like, well, maybe I can slow down my clicks. His is like the way he's saying words. Yeah. And so where he started was rough. He's also like not the highest emotional guy as far as the ability to communicate emotions, feels them, can't really share them that well, which is like a double whammy. So you have a hard time saying words and you have a hard time communicating emotions, and then you want to stand on stage and talk to people about anything. It's like a really rough combo. He came to me, he's like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
Come on, lean into it. Come on, do the work. I was like, listen, if you're willing to work, I'm willing to dig with you. So we did, and we've done it over, and we've done it over, and we've done it over, and so many of his run-throughs were rough, so rough. Yesterday, dude got up here and slammed it.
Smacked it, bro.
Slammed it, bro. It was freaking filthy.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
It was so good. All the emotion, all the passion, clear. All of his words were enunciated. Like, I mean, my man was himself, too. Like, he wasn't nobody else. He was true to who Tyler was, and he communicated what God had gave him in a way that made sense. And because I've seen that in him, and because I've seen it in me, and because I've seen it in you, and because I've seen it in everyone that I've seen take this approach, I am telling you, whatever your story is, wherever you are coming from, if you are willing to do the work, not talk about the work, not complain about the work, but just do the dang work. And you'll trust that he who said he is good will be good.
Yeah.
And if he promised he'd do it, he'll come through. If you can marry those two things, there is no ceiling.
Yeah.
There is no cap. I don't care if people told you there was a cap. I don't care if you can touch the lid. If you'll do those two things, got to pull the lid off.
Yeah.
There is no ceiling. The issue is whether or not you're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
And I'm really like unapologetic about it. Like, you can talk to a million other people. Should we have rest? Yes. Should we have rhythms? Yes. You know what you can't get away from, though, is work.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to get the life you want without putting work in, you are sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
You can't get out of this. It is going to take work. It is going to take effort. It is going to take grit. And it is going to take grind. And if you don't do those things, then you will watch other people build the thing God wanted to build in you.
Yeah.
But if you'll do the work, then you'll be the hands God uses to build the next beautiful thing.
Yeah. So
trust the plan. Get to work.
Yeah. That's good, bro. That's so good. I think the other thing too, is so like for Tyler, like it wasn't anxiety. Like maybe it was like you're having to work through, you're putting yourself in some moments, some situations where like it's not comfortable, it's maybe embarrassing. You know what I mean? Like, and you're having to really like set your pride aside for some things to see some growth happen. For me, it was anxiety. Also, pro tip: if you have anxiety, my dad told me something when I was a kid.
Oh, this is good advice, bro.
It's been super helpful for me. He said, anytime your anxiety is telling you that something is too scary, use it as a compass to do it. He said,
that's wild.
Because if you don't, you're gonna get to a spot where like you can't, and that's been like super helpful for me. So just a little like side tangent thing. That's been helpful for me in the way I've managed mine. But there were moments where like I went to stand on the stage. Thought I was gonna pass out before I got on the stage because I was so nervous. Thought I was gonna throw up when I was on the stage because I was so nervous. And then like you do really just get to see God move, bro. And like no matter what your thing is, maybe it's not anxiety. Maybe it's you're having to walk through some things that are a little embarrassing. Maybe you're having to set your pride aside to have some conversations that you don't want to have because they're hard conversations. Maybe you're not confrontational and you're having to have some conversations that are confrontational that you feel like God's calling you to. Whatever the thing is, the next step is for you. I would also say if it feels difficult, God's probably on it. And if it will be worth it. And yeah.
You don't grow without tension.
Yeah, that's good.
Because like, and yes, can things be bad and God not be in it? Absolutely.
For sure. Yes.
No doubt.
Yeah.
It's just if you're drawn to do something that looks like it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like human nature does not choose the hard thing.
Yeah.
We choose the easy thing.
Exactly.
That's why none of us want to turn our homework in on time. That's why we want to sleep in and put our phone on 9 snoozes in a row.
Yeah.
Like human nature is absolutely, without a doubt, path of least resistance. Yes. So when you find yourself drawn to do something that's scary,
that's good. Yeah.
That looks hard, there's your first marker.
Yeah.
I mean, is it fair to say that anytime that's happening, that's absolutely the plan of God for your life? No, that's probably not fair.
No.
But my goodness, it is a good indicator that there might be something.
Yeah.
Because human nature is not normally drawn to do things that are difficult. So when you see those things, lean into them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you go down with the ship.
Yeah.
But I am saying don't go down with the ship because there's one leak.
Yeah, for sure.
Plug the daggum thing and just shovel a little bit of water out. Like just do the work. Do the work. Because if you do it, you'll find it, like you said, like you'll get to the end of this thing and it'll be better than you could even imagine. I love your dad's advice for me is a big deal, and I love it so much. I love how much of a compass it is for you, because it's like every time you say no to the courageous step, do you know what that does?
Yeah.
And it makes it so much easier to say no again.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's why for some of us who are listening today, this message, this conversation is probably really either encouraging or super frustrating.
Yeah.
And for some people, when you're listening, it's like you feel like it's too far. Well, the reason it's too far is largely probably because you've said no a lot of times to the step that was in front of you. Right? Every time you say no to the right thing, it's easier to do the wrong thing. Every time God says move and you don't, it's harder to move. Here's the good news. Even if you've said no a million times, today could be the day you say yes.
Yeah.
And now could be the moment you lean back in.
Yeah.
So is it
That's good.
scary? Absolutely.
Yep.
Is it hard? Absolutely.
Yep.
Also, just because you don't have some crazy reason for it not to be hard doesn't change it not being hard.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have anxiety. Maybe you don't have a speech impediment.
Right.
Maybe you're just not naturally good at it. Guess what? That's okay too.
Yep.
You don't need to have some great mountain thing behind you. Sometimes it being hard is enough to want to quit.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't quit.
Yeah.
Lean in, because if you find yourself drawn to do a thing that is hard, that is scary, or maybe it's not natural to you, there's a very good indication God wants to do something in you through that process.
Yeah.
Because he is made strong in our weaknesses. So do the work.
Yep.
Lean in. Get to work. Do the thing. And trust that God will show up like he said he was.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe in God, get to work anyways.
Yeah.
Because the same rules apply. Good things take time to build. But here's what's crazy. If you'll chase the things that are hopeful in your life, that excite you, that bring you life, if you'll chase the big, audacious dreams, I think you're going to find God in the process.
Yeah, that's good, bro. That's so good. I think it's a good thing good place to end this thing.
Let's do it.
I want to thank you guys so much for listening, for watching. Also, Occupy All Streets Conference.
Yes, it is.
Still coming up on August 17th.
August 17th. There's a few spots left.
Yes.
So get your sign up on.
There are spots left. You can click there's like a link box that will be up here if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, you can click in the link in the description.
Yeah.
You can get registered. We are so excited for it.
$50.
It's going to be incredible. $50 per person. It's going to be incredible. We are super excited about that. But let's do some hard things.
Let's do some hard
things.
things.
You guys have a great week. We will see y'all on the next episode.
Love y'all. Love you.